Welcome back to the channel. My name is Katelyn Brooke, and today we're going to be doing a little chit chat, get ready with me video, and we're also going to be doing a hairstylist Q&A. So if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to keep watching and like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps out. And without further ado, let's get into the questions. Alright, so ready to go ahead and jump into the Q&A. So the first question that I have is, why did you choose to do hair? So for me, hair is something that I always knew that I wanted to do. Probably around, I want to say 9th grade or so, they came to our school. It may have been 8th grade, but regardless, they came to our school and kind of were talking to us about all the different paths that we could go down and what we would need to do to prepare ourselves for those paths. And I feel like even at that moment, I knew that I wanted to do hair. And so for me, it was a really easy answer, and I ended up going to hair school while I was in high school. And so I never really had another career path set for me. I didn't go to college other than like community college. So, you know, for me, doing hair was just something that I was always passionate about, and I knew that I loved it. And to be completely honest, I feel like that is what creates a successful hairstylist, is someone who is passionate about it and not just choosing it for any other reason. So the next question is going to kind of tie into that, and that's how I got started in hair school. And so with the high school that I went to, we had something called a dual enrollment program. And this probably won't apply to most of you because even the high school that I went to no longer does the program that I did. So basically what it was is you could go to high school online. Well, actually no. You could go to high school at the high school during the day, and then you would go to college for like 1 or 2 classes, whatever. So I decided that I wanted to do cosmetology school as my dual enrollment program. But the only problem with that was that cosmetology school was a full-time program, and obviously high school is a full-time program. And so I talked to my counselor, figured out what I could do about that, and I ended up doing my high school classes online and going to cosmetology school full-time during the day. So that was when I was 16 and 17, and I ended up graduating cosmetology school before graduating high school. So it was a really awesome experience for me, and I'm glad that I did that. But then again, like, it's really not for everyone, and so it's one of those things where you just need to know whether you're going to be disciplined enough to do your classes online and go to school, because if you're not one of those people, then I highly would not recommend that at all. So where did you go to hair school? That question kind of goes along again. I went to cosmetology school at a community college here in my town called McDowell Tech. And basically it's just our regular community college, the only one that's here in Marion. And I will say that it was something that I was really torn about whenever I went to school. I wanted to go to one of those fancy schools like Paul Mitchell or whatever. And I actually ended up going and touring a couple of those schools. But what happened was I was only 16 years old, and the age requirement for those schools was 18. And I wasn't necessarily willing to wait until I was 18 to go to those schools. So I ended up choosing to go to cosmetology school at McDowell Tech. And when I tell you it was the best decision that I ever made, I truly mean that, because while cosmetology school at one of those fancy places can seem exciting, you really get pigeonholed into using their products and their way of doing things. And I feel like when you go to a cosmetology school in community college, you really get to find out the products that you like to use. You get to try different techniques. You have a lot of freedom in community college. And to be completely honest too, with cosmetology school, regardless of whether you're going to Paul Mitchell or Aveda, whatever, you are going to end up learning the same basic things. Yes, they may teach you some different techniques, but the vast majority of what you're going to learn is going to be the basics. And the best thing that you can do is to save your money and go to a community college, learn the basics, and then spend your money on classes afterwards. And I think that's the biggest thing is, for me, I did not learn very much in community college. I feel like I learned the bare minimum, and when I was in school, a lot of the techniques that are out these days are just not available. They weren't even a thing. Like when I was graduating cosmetology school, ombre was just becoming a thing. And so this is like new territory completely. And so immediately after school, I went and took an extension course and did a lot of different classes to learn techniques and things like that. And I feel like that is what's going to matter. So yes, starting in cosmetology school is important, but honestly, just get past cosmetology school and get to the next portion of your career, because that's really what's going to make you successful. And so that's actually the next question on my list, and that's how did you become successful and build a clientele? So obviously my first answer to that question is going to be take as many classes as humanly possible and learn everything that you can right out of school, because that is going to kickstart your career and set you apart from other hairstylists that you graduated with. My second piece of advice with that is going to be social media and staying consistent. I feel like these days everyone knows that social media is a huge part of being a hairstylist, and you really have to learn how to market yourself online to be successful. And I genuinely don't think there's really any way around it if you want to grow your clientele, especially if you want to grow quickly. And so when I first started hair and got out of school, social media for business was like this baby thing. Like people really didn't know a lot about it. Put things into perspective, like ombre had just kind of become a thing when I got out of school. And so all these fancy like new techniques and everything were really just becoming a thing. And so I'm out here learning all these techniques, and I'm like, well, you know, I see other like big city stylists like posting their work online, but nobody from my small town was like posting hair pictures or anything like that, really, not to the extent that they do today. And so I was like, you know, like let's just try this social media thing out and see how it goes. And genuinely, I could say that that is 100% of the reason that I have been successful and built my clientele, because of how, I guess, consistent that I was on social media, and also how persistent I was about taking classes. So those are my two biggest tips. I could honestly do a full video on like tips to be a successful hairstylist, and if that's something that you're interested in, then like this video so that I know that's something that I need to create, and I will definitely put it on my schedule. Moving on to the next question, it's going to be how long have you been doing hair? So I went to cosmetology school in 2013 and I graduated in 2014. So it will be 8 years in December that I've been doing hair, which is literally insane. So 8 years, and honestly, it has been a whirlwind of a ride, but I also like loved it so much. This question is booth rental, commission, or assisting. And so I can't really speak to starting out with commission because that's never something that I really did. And there's actually not that I know of, any commission salons in my small town. Where you live, there more than likely is commission opportunities, and I would definitely recommend looking up something about that. But I'm just not the one to really speak to the experience of being a commission stylist. However, I do think it's a good way to start out without having to pay anything down. Me personally, I started out booth rental because genuinely that was my only option. And so I started out booth rental, did not have the best experience, not as far as like paying booth rent or anything like that, just the salon that I worked in was not the best experience, and I felt like I really got robbed of a good, first few years, mostly because there were a lot of illegal things going on within that salon as far as like being a booth rent stylist and being my own boss. And me being 17, I had no clue. So lesson learned. But that being the case, I would say do your research, learn what you're getting yourself into, and know whether or not the salon is actually like a reputable salon to work at and they're not going to screw you over, because more often than not that can happen in like this industry, unfortunately. So with that being said, I offer an assistant program at my salon, but that is kind of hard to come by when it comes to a small town. We are the only salon in my town that offers an assistant program. So it's kind of few and far between that you're going to find a job if you live in like a smaller area. So whether that means traveling to a larger area to get an assistant position or just finding someone that maybe would be willing to teach you out the gate, I think is huge. We never had that kind of opportunities whenever I got out of school, and I wish with everything in me that I did. So that being said, if assisting is an option for you, assist 110%. You will get so confident behind the chair and learn so much that you never would have had you started out by yourself. But I did not assist, and obviously it ended up being okay. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, choose what you want to do. But hindsight, if I had the opportunity, I definitely would have assisted, and obviously did not have that chance. And so booth rental was where it was, and it definitely took me longer to learn things that I know now than what my past assistants know, just for the sake of I didn't have anyone to advocate for me or be on my side. The next question is the hardest part about being a hairstylist. And so I feel like there are two sides to this, and you can really take it, you know, with whatever you want to. So the very first thing is when you are a fresh stylist out of school, and that is going to be getting your feet wet in the industry and getting people to take you seriously. I really felt this like full on because I was obviously 17, and so getting people, not only other hairstylists in the salon, but the clients that I was working on to trust a child to do their hair was very difficult. Mind you, like I was mature for my age, but when you look at someone who's so young doing your hair, you're obviously going to be nervous. And so that was the most challenging thing for me starting out. Now, as I've been doing hair for a little bit longer, I feel like work-life balance has got to be the hardest thing to do as a hairstylist, and that just honestly comes with time. And I definitely do a lot of work on that within myself and also help other people to find work-life balance. And I can definitely do a whole video dedicated to that too, because there's so many things that go into having a balance between your career and your home life, and I think it is so important. And it's also something that I did not have for years. And so if that's something that you feel like you're going to struggle with, and if you don't yet, you probably will struggle with, then let me know in the comments below, because I can definitely do a full video dedicated to work-life balance. But I feel like that is definitely the hardest thing, being your own boss. So the last question is going to be, what is my biggest piece of advice for a new hairstylist? And for that, it's going to be to stay consistent. So whether that be with social media or your clients, making sure that you're professional with them, whatever it may be, just be consistent on who you are throughout everything that you do. You want to create a brand for yourself of being a professional, and hairstylists have kind of gotten this stigma of, oh, we just gossip behind the chair all day and have fun, and then we go home and like everything's fine. But people don't really understand that being a hairstylist is a complete business. And so if you can put on that persona, whether it be in person or online, and let your clients know that you are actually a professional business owner, then you are going to be so much more successful than someone who is just kind of flying by the seat of their pants and not being professional whatsoever. Because I've seen so many different types of hairstylists in my life, and the ones who I respect the most and have the best careers are the ones who treat themselves like a business. So that being said, that's the end of this Q&A. I will post all the products that I used on my face down below. Definitely not a beauty guru, but if you're interested, they will be there. And also make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, because I post every Monday and Thursday. And I hope you guys have an awesome week.